Toyota has built its reputation on efficient, exceptionally reliable vehicles, and that reputation holds true in most cases, with a few genuine exceptions worth knowing about before you sign anything. Most of their models do well in independent testing thanks to impressive fuel economy, comfortable rides, quiet cabins, good controls, and generous standard safety equipment across nearly the entire lineup. But even Toyota isn't immune to growing pains, and 2026 has exposed a handful of specific SUVs where new technology, rushed engineering, or an aging platform is creating real problems for real owners. Stick around, because the worst SUV on this list carries a recall, serious enough to involve an actual fire risk, not just an annoying rattle or a software glitch. Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid. This one's recall involves the exact word nobody wants to hear about their new SUV. Sitting at the worst spot on this entire list is the Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid. What most people don't realize is that a late 2025 recall covering 2025 and 2026 Corolla Cross Hybrids specifically addressed loose bolts within the hybrid inverter that could cause a total loss of motive power, or in rare cases, an actual fire. That's not a comfort complaint tucked away in a spec sheet, and it's not an infotainment glitch that merely annoys you during a commute. That's the specific kind of recall that makes safety-conscious buyers genuinely nervous about a brand new purchase they were otherwise excited to drive off the lot just weeks earlier. Here's the twist. This issue is directly tied to Toyota rushing newer hybrid technology through its smaller, more affordable models first, before that technology has been fully proven out over years of accumulated real-world ownership across varied climates and driving conditions. The Corolla Cross Hybrid shares underlying architecture with several other recently updated Toyota hybrids across the lineup, and inverter bolt tolerances that seemed perfectly fine sitting on an engineering spec sheet in a lab apparently weren't holding up consistently once real vehicles hit real roads, real temperature swings, and real years of vibration, potholes, and daily use. Toyota has been deploying software patches and physical fixes to address the underlying issue, and the company's broader reputation for catching problems early through voluntary recalls, rather than letting them fester quietly for years, certainly works in the Corolla Cross Hybrid's favor here, compared to manufacturers who drag their feet on similar issues. But the simple fact that this recall exists at all on a genuinely brand new model year barely off the assembly line is exactly why this SUV lands at the very bottom of this entire list rather than somewhere in the middle. Owners who purchased early units specifically should confirm their vehicle has already received the necessary inverter fix before assuming everything under the hood is fine, since a fire risk recall isn't the kind of thing worth taking on faith. It's also worth noting that this isn't the Corolla Cross Hybrid's first brush with early production growing pains, reinforcing a pattern where Toyota's smallest and most budget-conscious hybrid SUV consistently absorbs the roughest edges of new technology before those lessons get carried over into the rest of the lineup. If a brand new hybrid SUV can carry this level of recall risk straight out of the gate, wait until you see the next worst pick, because this one involves a transmission problem plaguing multiple Toyota models simultaneously, not just a single isolated nameplate sitting alone in the lineup. Toyota Highlander, this next SUV, is currently facing class action lawsuits over how it shifts gears. Sitting at the second worst spot on this list is the Toyota Highlander. What most people don't realize is that multiple class action lawsuits filed across 2025 and into 2026 specifically target the Highlander's 8-speed UA80 transmission, a gearbox that's also found under the hood of the Camry, RAV4, and even the Lexus RX and ES, sitting one rung up the price ladder from Toyota's own showroom. Common symptoms described repeatedly throughout these lawsuits include harsh shifting, noticeable hesitation, and outright slipping, caused by excessive internal heat combined with software programming that favors early upshifts purely to chase fuel economy numbers, sometimes at the direct expense of the smooth, predictable power delivery drivers have come to expect from a Toyota badge. Covering model years 2018 through 2026 as a broader combined nameplate, the Highlander carries an average reliability score of 84 out of 100, which genuinely sounds strong sitting on the surface as a single headline number, and repair costs are estimated at roughly $489 annually, meaningfully below the broader mid-size SUV segment average according to independent tracking data compiled from thousands of owners. But that reassuring headline figure conveniently hides a considerably rougher recent stretch worth knowing about. Specifically, the 2024 model year scored just 67 out of 100, the single worst year tracked for this entire nameplate's history, driven largely by exactly the transmission complaints now escalating into formal, organized litigation against the manufacturer rather than remaining scattered individual complaints. The 2026 model year itself reportedly shows no complaints or recalls logged yet, which suggests Toyota may have quietly addressed at least the worst of this underlying issue in current production runs coming off the line today, whether through revised software calibration or updated internal components. But buyers specifically considering a slightly older Highlander from that rockier 2024 window, whether new old stock sitting on a lot or shopping the used market for a deal, should factor this documented pattern in carefully before signing anything, since the lawsuits themselves are still actively working their way through the legal system as we speak, with no final resolution yet reached. This matters even more for families specifically, since the Highlander has long been marketed as the dependable, do-everything family hauler in Toyota's lineup, and a transmission that hesitates or slips unpredictably in stop-and-go traffic isn't just an annoyance. It's a genuine trust issue for a vehicle bought specifically to eliminate exactly that kind of unpredictability. But it doesn't end here, because the worst pick on our entire combined best and worst list isn't struggling with recalls or lawsuits at all, but with something arguably even more fundamental to trust. Nobody actually has enough data on it yet to know for certain. Toyota BZ, this SUV's biggest problem isn't a defect, it's a total lack of track record. Rounding out the worst three on this list is the Toyota BZ, Toyota's dedicated electric SUV entry into an increasingly crowded and competitive segment. What most people don't realize is that unlike the RAV4, Highlander, or 4Runner, each of which carries years or even entire decades of accumulated ownership data behind their published reliability scores, the BZ remains a genuinely new platform without the kind of long-term track record that makes Toyota's broader reputation so trustworthy in the very first place. Toyota built its entire brand identity on conservative, thoroughly tested, incrementally refined engineering, and the BZ represents the company moving faster and further outside that comfortable, proven zone than almost anything else currently wearing the Toyota badge on a dealership lot today. This isn't a vehicle with documented catastrophic problems the way some rushed electric vehicle launches from other manufacturers have experienced in recent years, complete with headline-grabbing battery fire scandals or sweeping class action lawsuits. There's no equivalent scandal attached to the BZ yet, and that's genuinely worth acknowledging. It's simply a vehicle where Toyota's usual multi-year proving process, the same patient process that eventually turned the RAV4 and 4Runner into industry benchmarks other brands measure themselves against, hasn't had nearly enough time to run its full course. That absence of accumulated data matters enormously for buyers who are specifically choosing Toyota over a rival brand precisely because they want the company's legendary buy-it-and-forget-about-it ownership experience that took decades to build. Choosing the BZ right now genuinely means betting on Toyota's broader engineering culture translating cleanly and successfully to a full electric platform, rather than betting on the kind of years of accumulated real-world owner data you can actually point to with nearly every other SUV in this current lineup. That's not necessarily a bad bet, given Toyota's overall track record across its history of eventually getting things right. But it's a fundamentally different kind of bet than buying a RAV4 or 4Runner, and shoppers should walk in understanding that distinction clearly, rather than assuming Toyota's badge alone automatically guarantees the same proven dependability here that it does elsewhere in the lineup. For buyers specifically drawn to EVs but nervous about reliability unknowns, waiting even 1 or 2 additional model years for the BZ to accumulate real ownership data could meaningfully change this calculation, the same way it eventually did for the RZ over at Lexus. Now here's where the list flips entirely, moving from 3 SUVs genuinely worth some caution toward 4 that represent Toyota operating at its absolute best, starting with the model that arguably built the entire brand's SUV reputation from the ground up decades ago. Toyota RAV4. This is the SUV Toyota's entire reputation was practically built around. Taking the 4th best spot, working our way up toward the top of this list, is the Toyota RAV4. If there's such a thing as SUV royalty anywhere in the industry, the RAV4 wears that crown comfortably and has for years. This has been the best-selling SUV in the entire country for years running now, and for genuinely good reason. It simply works, generation after generation, without unnecessary drama or expensive surprises waiting in the driveway 6 months after purchase. What most people don't realize is that owners consistently report minimal problems across nearly every model year tracked, and the few issues that do occasionally surface tend to be minor and genuinely affordable to fix, rather than the kind of expensive, ownership-ruining repair that sours buyers on an entire brand for good. The RAV4's specific combination of practical, sensible design, thoroughly proven engines, and Toyota's legendary broader reliability reputation makes it a genuine no-brainer for buyers who specifically want to purchase a vehicle once and then functionally forget about it for the next decade of ownership. Yes, it's admittedly a bit boring sitting next to flashier, more style-forward competitors on the same lot, and yes, you'll typically pay a slight premium for that peace of mind compared to a similarly sized rival from a less reliability-focused brand. But when you honestly weigh that modest premium against potential future repair costs, lost time at dealerships, and the simple accumulated stress of owning an unreliable vehicle for years, the RAV4 quickly and repeatedly justifies its asking price to nearly anyone who does the math carefully. New for 2026, Toyota continued quietly refining the RAV4's already thoroughly solid powertrain lineup rather than chasing dramatic redesigns purely for their own sake or to generate headlines. Whether you choose the standard gasoline engine, the genuinely excellent hybrid version built specifically around strong real-world fuel economy, or the plug-in hybrid variant sitting at the top of the range with genuine electric-only commuting range, each option is engineered specifically for long-term longevity rather than short-term flash or momentary showroom excitement that fades within a year of ownership. If the RAV4 earns its spot purely through sheer consistency and proven reliability, wait until you see third place, where Toyota takes that exact same underlying philosophy and applies it to something built for genuine, serious off-road punishment instead of grocery runs and school pickup lines. Toyota 4Runner. This one has the highest reliability score of any SUV on this entire list. Taking third place is the Toyota 4Runner. Covering model years 2018 through 2026, the 4Runner consistently achieves an average reliability score of 90 out of 100, with the 2026 model specifically reporting 0 complaints logged so far in its production run to date. What most people don't realize is that this figure doesn't just make the 4Runner Toyota's single most reliable SUV currently on sale, it makes it genuinely one of the most reliable vehicles of any kind, from any manufacturer, currently tracked across the entire automotive industry, regardless of price point or vehicle segment being compared. Common issues reported by owners historically do include steering vibrations, airbag non-deployment concerns, and sunroof shattering, though these specific problems clustered heavily in earlier model years rather than showing up as an ongoing, unresolved pattern in more recent production runs coming off the line today. Repair costs remain genuinely below the broader segment average as well, sitting at roughly $514 annually according to independent tracking data, meaning this rugged body-on-frame SUV doesn't just survive years of off-road abuse and heavy daily use, it does so while actually costing owners noticeably less than competitors to maintain over a comparable multi-year ownership window. For buyers who specifically want proven, decades-tested engineering wrapped inside genuine off-road capability, rather than just rugged-looking styling slapped onto a soft crossover platform built for pavement only, the 4Runner remains nearly untouchable in this particular combination of durability, capability, and low ownership stress. It's the rare vehicle that manages to be both genuinely tough and genuinely dependable at the exact same time, without forcing buyers to choose one quality at the expense of the other the way so many rugged-styled competitors ultimately do. Toyota Grand Highlander Hybrid. This one solved a gap the rest of Toyota's lineup simply couldn't fill. Taking second place is the Toyota Grand Highlander Hybrid. This model fills a genuinely real niche in the broader Toyota SUV lineup, providing meaningfully more interior room than the standard Highlander without introducing the truckiness and clumsy handling that comes with a full-sized SUV like the Sequoia sitting further up this list. What most people don't realize is that the hybrid powertrain reportedly returns around 35 miles per gallon combined, a genuinely impressive figure considering the vehicle's overall size and its ability to comfortably seat up to 8 passengers across 3 full rows, rather than cramming a barely usable third row in as a token afterthought the way plenty of competitors in this segment do. That kind of real, meaningful efficiency packed into a genuinely spacious three-row package is rare in this particular segment, where most direct rivals sacrifice fuel economy almost entirely once they add the extra weight and mechanical complexity that comes with a third row and the drivetrain needed to comfortably move it up hills and onto highways. Some infotainment features can admittedly feel a little confusing to first-time Toyota owners still learning the brand's specific menu structure and button layout compared to whatever they drove previously, but that's a far more forgivable, easily adapted to flaw than the mechanical or comfort issues actively plaguing plenty of competing three-row SUVs in this same crowded, hotly contested segment, full of aggressive marketing promises. For families who specifically need real, usable interior space without stepping all the way up into something as large and genuinely truck-like as the Sequoia, the Grand Highlander Hybrid represents exactly the kind of thoughtful, deliberate, gap-filling engineering that keeps Toyota's overall lineup so consistently strong across nearly every price point and buyer need imaginable, from young families to multi-generational households needing to move everyone at once. Get ready, because first place goes to the Toyota SUV, quietly delivering some of the lowest documented ownership costs in its entire segment. Full stop, beating out rivals that cost considerably less to purchase up front, but end up costing more over time. Toyota Sequoia. This is the full-size SUV proving hybrid only doesn't have to mean compromise. Lime. Taking the top spot on this entire combined list is the Toyota Sequoia. There's currently only one full-size SUV in Toyota's entire lineup, and it's a genuine body-on-frame three-row SUV with real room for the whole family and towing capacity that legitimately rivals some half-ton pickup trucks sitting in Toyota's own truck lineup just down the showroom floor. What most people don't realize is that its current generation is powered entirely by a hybrid system that's proving remarkably reliable so far in real-world use across thousands of owners, directly defying the common assumption that a full-size hybrid SUV would inevitably be more mechanically complex and more failure-prone than a comparable traditional gas-only equivalent from a competing brand still relying on older technology. According to independent cost-tracking data compiled across thousands of real owners over a genuine multi-year ownership window, the Sequoia cost approximately $2,346 to maintain and repair across its first 5 years on the road, which comes in less than the industry average for popular SUV models by a genuinely significant margin of roughly $1,250, representing real, measurable savings for a vehicle this large, this capable, and this loaded with hybrid technology under the hood. Lime, for buyers who genuinely need full-size capability, real towing power for a boat, camper, or trailer, and true three-row seating for a large or extended family, but don't want to gamble on unproven hybrid complexity the way some rivals have unfortunately forced buyers to in recent years. The Sequoia's actual documented ownership data makes a genuinely compelling case that Toyota successfully threaded that difficult needle between capability and dependability. That's exactly why it earns the top spot on this entire combined list, ahead of even the RAV4's decades of proven best-selling consistency and the 4Runner's near-perfect reliability score. So here's where everything comes together. 3 Toyota SUVs genuinely worth some caution heading into 2026 and 2027. The Corolla Cross Hybrid's fire risk inverter recall on brand new units barely off the assembly line, the Highlander's active class action transmission lawsuits tied to its widely shared 8-speed gearbox found across multiple Toyota and Lexus models, and the BZ's simple, honest lack of the long-term ownership track record that makes the rest of Toyota's lineup so trustworthy to begin with. And 4 Toyota SUVs earning genuinely strong praise backed by real, independently verified data. The Ariya V4's decades-proven best-selling consistency that built the brand's entire SUV reputation from scratch, the 4Runner's near-untouchable 90 out of 100 reliability score that rivals vehicles from any segment or price point across the industry, the Grand Highlander Hybrid's rare and genuinely valuable combination of real three-row space paired with real fuel efficiency competitors still can't match, and the Sequoia's surprisingly low 5-year ownership costs for a full-size hybrid SUV that could have easily gone the other way given its size and complexity. The lesson threading through all 7 of these picks is genuinely simple once you step back and look at the whole list together, rather than judging Toyota purely by its overall brand reputation. Toyota's broader reputation is honestly earned through decades of consistent, patient engineering discipline. But that reputation isn't automatically universal across every single badge currently sitting in the lineup today. Older, Thoroughly proven platforms like the RAV4 and 4Runner continue delivering exactly what Toyota has become globally known for over the past several decades. While newer technology, rushed hybrid rollouts chasing fuel economy numbers under competitive pressure, and Toyota's first serious push into full electric SUVs are exactly where the cracks are showing up first, right on schedule for a brand pushing into genuinely new territory it hasn't fully mastered yet. Why? If you're shopping Toyota's SUV lineup anywhere in 2026 or 2027, the smartest move is leaning toward the models with years of accumulated, documented ownership data behind them, and treating the newest, least proven entries with the same healthy, patient skepticism Toyota itself has historically applied to its own engineering process before letting a new platform loose on the broader public. That patience is exactly what built the reputation in the first place, and it's exactly what should guide your own shopping decision heading into showrooms this year. If this helped you narrow down your next Toyota, hit subscribe, because next week we're comparing the RAV4 against its closest rivals from Honda and Mazda to see which compact SUV actually holds up best over time. You won't want to miss that comparison.